Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Alliance podcast. Of course, I'm your host, Clay, and with me, she is back. Katie is here. How you doing, Katie?
I'm doing better. Last week was a big struggle. This week is still a struggle, but I'm better. And so COVID, you cannot win.
Yeah, it sounded like you were rough. You were even trying to be like, "Oh, maybe I can make it. Maybe I could do it." And then like maybe an hour later, you were just like, "Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to be able to do this." And I was like, "It's
No.
okay. You don't have to force yourself to do anything under the stress of COVID." It from what I've heard, it sucks. I thankfully have not gotten it yet. People, get your vaccines and get your boosters cuz it's crazy out there right now. But she is here. We're going to have a wonderful show today. We have a lot of news, one of which I didn't even know until we started talking right before we, of course, came live. But of course, we are a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. We have 8 shows across 7 different days. Of course, we have 4 of those shows being bi weekly, that being World's Finest True Believers, Ranger Alliance, A Walk Through the Multiverse, and currently on hiatus, but it will be coming back, is A Slice of Film with Katie herself. And then, of
Love you
course,
guys.
on the weekly is, of course, DC Alliance, Superhero Discussion, Star Wars Alliance, and Marvel Alliance. We are also listener supported as well as oh shoot I blanked. I don't know why I blanked. We are listener supported as well as ad supported. That's right. So you will be listening to ads here on this episode. Of course, if you watch us live on YouTube, you don't have to deal with that stuff. If you join our Patreon, you will not have to deal with ads either. But the ads support us, they help us out. If you want to join the Patreon, it is $1, of course. Just say thank you. $5 will say, thank you, plus all of the exclusive content. We have some shows that are planned, of course, for 2022. A lot of them. Me and Joe are still wanting to talk about the superhero costumes of Marvel and DC and how that can help the newer, of course, cinematic universe of Power Rangers that is coming to Netflix that we are going to just have so much fun with in the year of 2023. We just know it. So there is all of that. Of course, Star Wars Alliance, DC Alliance, as well as Marvel Alliance all have their own separate feeds. So if you would like to subscribe to those, you can. Or if you would like to listen to all of our shows, just subscribe to the Geek Ultimate Alliance network. Now, before
Drum roll,
we
please.
before we jump into anything further in the show, we want to say thank you to organicpricebooks.com. Of course, they are the sponsors of our sister station, Marvel Alliance. Now, they have graciously helped us out here with this Book of Boba Fett celebration. We're actually doing a giveaway. Of course, if you guys review the solo feed of Star Wars Alliance, go review that feed, and you will be entered to win the Old Republic Omnibus. That is for United States listeners only. Now, international, don't worry, we have something for you. But for the United States listeners, if you go review us there, take a screenshot of that review and send it to either A Slice of Katie or at Fanboy Clay or even a Star Wars Alliance without the A in the wars. It's very important. But send that screenshot to us and you will be entered to win that contest. Now, Organic Price Books is a great place for all of your collected trades, graphic novels, and of course, omnibuses. They are absolutely amazing. Go check them out. The code Marvel GUA will give you $2 off of every single purchase, so you can continuously use that code. Now, for our international listeners, I can't give away the Old Republic Omnibus, but what I can give you is the chance to win a $100 gift card to Organic Price Books. They do ship internationally. He does a very good job at shipping these books. He is a collector just like all of us, and so he knows that these books need to be protected. My books are always wrapped like 7 times in bubble wrap. They're like boxed twice. It's great. It makes me feel really good getting a book that isn't completely dented and torn and all sorts of stuff. So go check them out and please review the solo feed of Star Wars Alliance. Now, with that,
Nathan asks, can he win?
Are we gonna give Nathan the chance to win? Oh, that's a good question, Nathan. That's a good question.
I'll tell you this. If you can get 5 other people to go review Star Wars Alliance and send their stuff in, you can
know
have
what?
a chance.
How about, you know what? That is fair. If 5 or more people submit their reviews in, then I will add Nathan into that as well.
As long as he goes in and reviews it, because I've looked, he hasn't reviewed it. He's reviewed the mega feed. He's not reviewed the solo feed.
Come on, Nathan. You have to review us. You have to help us out, man. Those reviews help. Oh, and also for all of you, because this is new. I did not know this until I started listening to other podcasts. For all of our Spotify listeners, please go and give us a 5-star review if we deserve it. If you want to give us a 1-star, go ahead and give us that as well. Just let us know why, and we can possibly improve the show for you. We always are here to serve. Now, 5 burner accounts coming at you. Wobbly Boots 1, Wobbly Boots 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, so let's go ahead and jump right into this. We're going to go ahead and start off with the first story that I had no clue about until Katie showed me earlier today. The rumor is that Kotor, the Knights of the Old Republic game, will feature new systems and content while adhering to the original game's story. So this is kind of what we were already hearing, kind of what we already assumed, but this is still getting more steam towards it, which is really, really nice, you know? So I know Katie is not the big gamer here. Of course, she's going to have her husband play this game. She's going to watch it. She's going to take all the notes. We already know. Yep. But for me, Knights of the Old Republic story was one of the best stories in my childhood. I really, really loved it. And knowing that they're not really going to mess with it too much is really nice to hear. Now, does that mean that this story can't still be thrown into continuity? Who knows? Because that's always something to talk about when it comes to Star Wars fans. Is it continuity? Is it not continuity? You know, I just wish that Star Wars themselves would just come out sometimes and be like, hey, we're making this thing. It's continuity. Hey, we're not making this thing. It's continuity. Or, hey, this thing, it's not continuity. You know, just say it. Just say it. And I won't be expecting too much from it. You know?
I think it would greatly benefit them. Like, they came right out front with visions and said, no, this isn't. But remember, y'all, you can headcanon the shit out of anything. For me, I think Star Wars would really benefit from going, hey, this is canon. Hey, this is not canon. And really putting an emphasis on that because people want to know, because it matters to people. People want to follow a greater story, like the MCU, for example, and they want to know, okay, should I be paying attention to the details in this to where it matters in the greater universe? Like, several people, we'll get to this in a second, but like the High Republic stuff where they're going 150 years in the past, like, you want to know if that stuff's canon. Obviously, in this case, it is. But like, people are pointing out, oh, hey, Mari Santeca was alive at that point and young. Maybe we're gonna see her kidnapping. In the Rising Storm, Cavan Scott talks about the Republic venturing into Torguta for the first time. So we're probably going to see that. And they ventured into that area 150 years before the Rising Storm. So we probably will see that. And so stuff like that is just like, hey, what details do I need to pay attention to? People are trying to find all these Easter eggs for stories across different pieces of media, and they want to know, and otherwise it's going to drive people insane.
Yeah.
So
Nathan says, I have my own Star Wars canon. I pick and choose what I include in my universe. A lot of people do, and that is A-okay. Now, of course, there is the actual canon where people are going to, point fingers and yell and, just be angry at a lot of different things for no reason. But that's the beauty of having so many avenues of media for one thing like Star Wars is you can take whatever you want. There's tons of people who are not reading the High Republic books, and that's not because they don't want to. It's because they don't exist. So even though those are canon, they don't know that they are canon because they don't know they exist. That doesn't hurt what they know of Star Wars canon in their heads. So it really does work out any way that you really want it to. Now, the one thing it does say here is that there is possible new content coming to the KOTOR remake. Now, I will say I'm really hoping for some DLC stories to expand on this. The big thing about this game, Katie, was the fact that you could make decisions based on the gameplay to be either a Sith or a Jedi. Now,
right.
that was a really big part of it. It changed the story for a lot of different aspects. I don't know if there was any like crazy amount of endings like there, was in things like Detroit Become Human and things like that. But I would love like if they have specific DLC for if you did choose to become a Sith or if you did choose to become a Jedi. And although you can't be like, oh, well, I can't play that because I don't have, a Jedi story and it's a Sith, whatchamacallit, it's a Sith DLC and I'm a Jedi. Well, the beauty of that is the fact that KOTOR had multiple save files. So you could do a Jedi story, you can do a Sith story, and you wouldn't have to mingle. Yeah, you would have to play through it, but that's the whole fun of it, right? Is making those decisions anyway. So I think it wouldn't hurt either way. But really looking forward to this game.
What I think could be a good option is, and this is something that they've kind of chosen to um, be their way of interpreting canon when certain differences come into play, is that oftentimes when you see those differences in canon, it's because you're hearing the story from a different person who's telling the story. For instance, the Ahsoka story. The Maul battle in particular is something that a lot of people are like, well, that's not how the Maul battle went in the Ahsoka novel when Clone Wars season 7 came on. And so, but Ahsoka is the one telling the story in the Ahsoka novel, and you're seeing it from an outside perspective in the Clone Wars. So you're seeing two different perspectives on that. Now, obviously, stuff like in the Ahsoka novel, Ahsoka's repaired lightsabers were green versus Clone Wars season 7, they were blue. Stuff like that you can't really rectify. But I like seeing that kind of stuff. And so I think they could very easily choose a similar storyline to what they have in the current KOTOR and go with the idea of, okay, at the end of the day, the story as a whole, the general story stays the same, but different paths were taken. So I think it's possible.
Yeah, yeah. Really looking forward to this. I'm really just waiting to see more gameplay footage and a specific date for us. I don't remember if
Specific dates mean shit. Hashtag where is Star Wars Lego Skywalker Saga?
hey, from what I remember, it hasn't been changed from spring 2022 yet, has it? We are still expecting it this year.
I don't know.
Spring
My
2022?
Amazon pre-order still says December 31st, 2022.
Oh man.
And y'all, I'm sorry about my cough. Clearly, I still have COVID. um,
Well,
so
with the
I'm
magic
sorry.
of editing, people may not even hear it. So, let's go ahead and move on to something I know Katie is very excited about. She sent me all of this news, especially right now since we are talking or we are reading currently the newly released Fallen Star. Katie is almost done with it. I have barely even broken the surface of this book. It is, I think, 35 chapters as a whole. I am
But
only
it is
nine
not as
chapters
big
in.
as Light of the Jedi and Rising Storm, which makes
That
me
is
sad.
true. That is true.
So,
You are on what chapter?
in the audiobook, I'm on chapter 23, I think, maybe 25. Um, but I have my hard copy here. Um, and I read it through with the highlights and everything. So I'm on chapter 6 in that. So
It still gives me the willies knowing that you write and highlight so much in your books. Anyway,
it
so
helps me read better.
the big news about the High Republic is the fact that we are getting more news on this phase two of the High Republic. Now, Katie did mention it very, very briefly. It looks like we are jumping into the past of even the High Republic, even further than what we were. 150 years to be exact, I think is what you said, correct?
Thanks, Nathan. He said, "Bro, Katie is hardcore." Yes, yes, I am. Somebody in my writers group was they posted this is live already, but it's like why Clone Wars and Rebels mean a lot to the Star Wars franchise. That's not the exact title, but it's pretty close. And he had an error in there. Christian, I love you if you're listening, but like he had an error where Sabine um had it was an issue with Sabine's past before she came to the ghost. And I was like, Christian, this isn't what happened. Fix your dang continuity. I won't let this slide. So yes, I'm hardcore. Um, so phase two, Quest of the Jedi, is going 150 years in the past from where we are currently with the High Republic. And so Claudia Gray has stated that it is an era of exploration. So we can presumably see the beginnings of the exploration into the Outer Rim because the High Republic people are exploring the Outer Rim and settling in the Outer Rim, but it doesn't necessarily quite mean that the Outer Rim wasn't explored previously. So we'll probably see that. We'll probably see more beginnings of hyperspace travel because we know the Santekas with Mari and gosh, I can't remember the other two, but like the Santekas were early hyperspace explorers. And so that's pretty reasonable to see them there. Mari Santeka in the current High Republic age before she died, spoiler alert, was in her hundreds. It's not specified how old she was, but you can imagine if we're jumping around and Mari has been such a big part of the current phase of the High Republic, you can imagine we're going to see Mari at some point. Um, so that's pretty much all we know. We do know that Justina Ireland and a new author to the High Republic franchise, Tessa Grattan, will be writing the young adult novel to come in October of 2022. So not quite the 6-month gap we've been getting previously, but still pretty reasonable for a publishing initiative. Daniel Jose Older is writing the new the Dark Horse edition, the Dark Horse's first run in the High Republic graphic novel, and was Cavan Scott is doing the Marvel comic again, and so that will also be coming in October 2022. Charles Soule is writing something on the Blade of Bardotta himself. We don't know exactly what, he's writing, but I would presume it's going to be very similar to the Markion Rowe comic Eye of the Storm, which is coming out next week. Um, I'm so
Ooh,
excited for
I
that, y'all.
am
We're gonna be
so
talking
ex-
about it here.
it
I'm buying a
whew,
digital comic.
to hear Thompson's voice as Marcion Rowe again in the Fallen Star is just like, whew, it makes my heart happy. I cannot wait until the day that we see that man in all of his glory in live action.
I know. I'm so excited. Oh, and excuse me, y'all. Charles Soule is actually running a Marvel comic for Porter Ingle, the Blade of Bardota. It was not stated in the video, which is where I was going off of, but it is stated in this StarWars.com article.
Yes.
Um, and the other authors, because there's 4 authors joining the High Republic. We've got Zoraida Cordova, George Mann, Tessa Gratton, which I already said, and Lydia Kang. Cordova, Mann, and Kang have both written for Star Wars before. Mann has written several. He's written several comics, I think. No, he's collaborated on Life Day Treasury, which does have High Republic book like stories in it, and then he's done the 2 actual kid novels. So we haven't been covering the actual kid novels, which
Oh
are
yes,
the
yes,
picture
yes.
books.
Hmm.
He's done the 3 picture books for the High Republic. So technically, if you wanted to get specific, he's already a High Republic author. They're just now officially including him.
Well,
Um,
that's kind of sad. Like that's
I
not even
know.
that's like, oh, you write for kids. You're not official. Like that's kind of
I
a kick in
know.
the nuts. But one thing it does say here uh on what is it? It's number because these are numbered 1 through 10. The uh we are getting hints of phase 2 in Mission to Disaster.
Yes, which is why I want to read it again. So, Mission to Disaster, y'all. The print edition is not supposed to come out until March 1st. This is I'm not going to say shit show, but shit show that was Mission to Disaster's release. Because everybody who was like a publicist for the High Republic was like, no, all the ebooks are wrong. Mission to Disaster isn't supposed to come out till March. It both will release concurrently. Y'all, the audiobook and the ebook all dropped when the publication date was
The
originally supposed
ebook
to
is
come
out
out.
too. Holy
Yes.
crap!
So, it's still up. It's still in my Audible library. So I assume they're just like, well, we fucked up. Like, and y'all, Lucasfilm publishers, like, I love you guys, but like, what was the communication here? Because nobody's talked about it. They're just like, oh, okay, it's up. I guess we're leaving it.
I haven't heard anything from yesterday's release. Now I will say I have listened to the entire thing. I now that I know this, I want to go back and listen, possibly to hear any specifics about Phase 2. Now it won't be like, hey, wink, wink, this is Phase 2 stuff. No, but I do want to go back and listen to see what may be there. I will say I reached out to Charles Soule when he mentioned the fact that they were going to be delaying this book again. He said that it does not change the reading order. So you're still technically supposed to be reading Mission to Disaster before Fallen Star. So that is why we decided I had already pre-ordered Mission to Disaster.
Yeah.
So when I checked, I was like, holy crap, it's there. I went ahead and listened to that first, and that's why I got a late start on Fallen Star.
Yeah, I did too. However, like I'm obviously home quarantining right now. So I don't have much to do, which is why I'm so far ahead in the Fallen Star. Um Claudia Gray has not said what she's going to be doing in phase 2. Everybody else, this is a common pattern for Claudia, I feel like, because when phase 1 was done and they had their High Republic special and people talked with her and was like, okay, so what are you doing? And she was like, yeah, I can't talk about it. Well, what she was working on was Fallen Star, y'all. So I'm assuming this means that she's going to be writing the adult novel that's coming for phase two. Because she has not written comic books previously. She has several young adult novels, and then she has 2 adult novels, not counting the Fallen Star. So she has 3 adult novels. Um, she's not going to be writing a comic. So I'm assuming she's with the fact that Tessa Gratton and Justina Ireland are writing the young adult novel. I'm assuming she's writing the adult novel again, and the fact that they're adding authors is just to help alleviate some of the burden
Oh,
because
most likely, yeah.
clearly Scott like killed phase 2 or wave 2 of phase 1 with how much he was putting out, which makes me sad because The Rising Storm was so good and I want to see him write another adult novel. Like, Cavitt, please write another adult novel.
It was really, really good. I think that was has been our favorite so far. Now, when does phase 1 officially end? Which book does it
So
end with?
So phase 1, we get the traditional 3 books, or 4 books if you count the kids one. So you got the kids book, the middle grade book, the young adult book, and Fallen Star. Middle grade is Midnight Horizon, that comes out in February. Mission to Disaster comes out in March officially. And then I don't know when the kids book comes out. But so those are your kind of timelines. The Marvel High Republic comic is ending with issue 15, and that is the end of phase 1 for the Marvel comic. The IDW Star Wars Adventures ends with issue 13, and that I think is March, I want to say. And then you have the manga volume 2, which is written by Daniel Jose Older and I can't think of her name. I'm sorry.
Which
So
did we even say? I don't think we even said it on the show, but I remember you sent me the article that the manga volume 2 is being released in physical form instead of just being digital
yes.
like we initially thought it was going to be.
So the physical release for that one is coming in May, I think, and the ebook is releasing in, I want to say, end of February. So with that, we'll cover it with the physical release in May. But I believe that is going to be the conclusion of phase 1 then. I think that's the last thing because the comics are officially ending, taking a break before phase 2, IDW and Marvel. Trail of Shadows releases issue 3 this month, so it's gonna end in March. So
So
yeah,
it
the
looks like
manga I think is the last
March.
thing.
Yeah, it looks like March is really going to be the end for most of the content in phase 1.
Yeah, because the manga will technically be officially out by then, but we'll cover it in May.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, pretty much. And then everything, we don't have official release dates for phase 2 Quest of the Jedi yet, but currently it's set for October. I want to say with how much I'm seeing with printing and everything, I'm thinking it's probably going to get pushed to January, and they're just going to stick on the January June timeframe, which would suck because I'm like, that just means even longer until we get phase 3 because I want to know what happens to our current characters. I need an ending, y'all. If you saw my tweet today, it's not spoiler. Well, it kind of is spoilery, but not like in a generic,
Not in specifically, like
not
not
specifically spoilers.
yeah.
But I said Captain Scott with the Rising Storm killing you slowly. Claudia Gray with the Fallen Star. Stab, stab, stab. So that is my current opinions on the book. So yeah.
Well, real quick before we jump into our other 2 news points before we go into the review of the Book of Boba Fett episode 2. Let's go ahead and take our first ad break. Remember, guys, we do not choose the ads. We do not choose how many times they repeat themselves if they do, and we do not choose the volume. So we'll give you a 3 count so that way you can have time to turn down that volume, and we will be right back. Ready? 3, 2, 1. We will be right back. And we are back. So
before we jump in to the rest of the news, I did just have to put this one shout out in for Zoraida Cordova. I am absolutely so excited that she's joining the High Republic. Her novel Crash of Fate is such a good romance. And I'm in the process of reading Incendiary, which is one of her other novels that's not Star Wars related, and she is so good. I'm so excited to see what she's going to put forth. If you haven't read her Star Wars stuff, highly recommend. She also wrote a short story in From a Certain Point of View Strikes Back, and that was also Lydia Kang's experience in Star Wars. She wrote a short story for 21B, the medical droid that I think helps with Luke on the Millennium Falcon at the end of Empire Strikes Back. So if you want to go read stuff by those authors that's Star Wars related, Man has he has Dark Legends and Life Day Treasury, and then From a Certain Point of View for Zoraida and Kang, and then A Crash of Fate for Zoraida as well. So
cool. Now, we did get some numbers from third-party sources as far as the Book of Boba Fett's first episode viewings. It seems that it had a little bit higher numbers than the premiere of both Hawkeye and WandaVision, I believe it was. I'm the one that posted it in our GOA chat, and I can't even remember. But yes, it did, of course, have higher numbers than those two. It did not beat, of course, the big one, which was Loki, as well as Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It came about 1.5? No, sorry, 1.8 million views on Samba TV. Of course, these are relatively whatchamacallit, roundabout numbers because it's just those specific TVs. So anybody who doesn't have a Samba TV will not be counted into that. So, just be aware of that. Just because you don't have a Samba TV, means you will not be counted in this kind of poll here. But
and unfortunately, that's all the numbers we really get from most streaming services is people who own those specific TVs, streaming services, including HBO Max, Netflix, have been reluctant to drop individual streaming numbers. So, yeah. And obviously, the streaming numbers, they could include 2 minutes or they can include the entire episode. So, grain of salt.
Yeah. But, I mean, I still think that if it's out of the 4 Disney shows, it was right in the middle of it. So I think it is doing well. Um, you know, uh, Nathan here in the very beginning of our podcast, he left us a little message here. I'm digging the present day Boba Fett stuff. I find myself not caring when we have a flashback scene. I'm still watching and digging it because it's Star Wars. Just feel like I'm waiting for present day. That does seem to be a popular opinion that I have been seeing circulating Twitter. I agree to a point, but I understand what is going on. And I do think that a lot of the advertisement for this, a lot of the marketing is the present day stuff. So a lot of people are assuming that's what the show is going to be. But when they specifically make this episode, which, spoiler alert, it is, this second episode is about 45 minutes of flashback. You know, I don't know if it would have been a good idea to market that. Do you think there would be more viewers if they did market the flashbacks?
Well, and I think when a lot of people talk about Boba Fett and him returning in Mandalorian, and heck, even going back to Legend stuff, a lot of people are like, how the heck did he survive the Sarlacc pit? And kind of wanted to see that kind of stuff. And so this is exactly what a lot of people have asked for is how did Boba Fett survive the Sarlacc pit? What did he do after? This is what he's doing. I saw a lot of people this morning on Twitter talking about how different the Tusken Raiders are um, in the show and between it and the Mandalorian. And I'm like, well, the Mandalorian is 5 years after the flashback stuff. So you kind of have had to take that into consideration when you're judging the Tusken Raiders because they were like, oh, well, the Tusken Raiders here are a lot more wild, like violence, and whereas we get the Tusken Raiders and they seem a lot more subdued. So what is Boba teaching them that's kind of eliminating the Tatooine Tusken Raider conflict? And I say Tatooine, I mean like the people who have come to Tatooine and like getting shot at by Tusken Raiders. And Boba Fett even like clarifies for us, and when the chieftain says that there's a lot of other tribes out there. So for me, I think the flashback stuff is really cool and it's giving us a lot of good character moments. I know I'm kind of skipping ahead, but Green did a phenomenal job today with the 45 minutes dedicated to the flashback stuff. And I really dug it. So, and that was not something that I was saying after last week's episode. So I think it's just a matter of opinion.
Yeah, and for me, I dug both because again, this is called the Book of Boba Fett, um, which means you're gonna get his history. You're gonna learn everything there is to know about the book of Boba Fett. You know, I think that is there intentionally. There's gonna be a lot of setup, and I know that's what a lot of people don't like. Right? It's the is the setup because they just want all the meat and potatoes. They want the action packed stuff. They want the cameos. They want the surprises. And technically, we did get a cameo in this episode, but we will get to that later on because we do have
Technically,
one.
we got three.
Did we really? Oh, well, yeah.
A lot of people didn't catch the two. They only caught the one.
Okay, well, you're
So-
going to have to inform me on that one. But our last story, before we go into the review, is hashtag Clay told you so. It looks, because, well, not really, because this is something else, but it does, I think, inevitably confirm something that I have been saying for a while now. The hashtag show has put out an exclusive saying that Emilia Clarke is back as Kira for a Disney Plus series, a solo series, not to be mistaken for Solo, pun intended, but a solo series featuring Kira. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, S Bub says, well, we'll talk about that when we get to the episode review. S Bubs. Um, Nathan said, "Damn it, Clay, I'm an American. I need instant gratification." Is that not true? I would love to see Emilia Clarke come back as Kira. I know we've talked about it several times as a cameo for Book of Boba Fett, especially with what's happened with War of the Bounty Hunters and Crimson Reign. It will be a great addition to the show, I think. But this states specifically that it's for a solo Disney Plus series. Now, I went off in the chat about how I don't believe a lot of scoopers, and I always take things scoopers say with a grain of salt. So for Emilia Clarke to come back, because so the tweet specifically says solo Disney Plus series. In the article, it says will be returning to the role of Kira for a live action Disney Plus series. So, um, and then they go on to talk about what could potentially be for a Kira series, and they piss me off with the whole Darth Maul died sometime after thing, because we know when Darth Maul died. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into that. Um, it really bugs me. Okay, it really fucking bugs me. um, so I think Book of Boba Fett is kind of leading into the what is the dark world. Nathan, you're killing me. What is the dark world of the Star Wars universe? Especially with the Hutts that we got today and talking about Nal Hutta. So Crimson Dawn would be a good Star Wars series, I think. However, I don't think it would be for a specific Kira solo series, because then I have to question what is Charles Soule doing with his Kira comic trilogy right now, if not what the Kira series would explore. So for me, I'm still thinking that it is for cameo purposes. I think she would be a great add in Andor as well, with the Dark World, because that's what Andor is going to explore. Is um, the spy world of the rebellion, and I imagine that Crimson Dawn would be a part of those back table negotiations. Um, so yeah, that's my
Yeah.
opinion. That was a long-winded way to say I don't believe in a Kira solo series.
I when you say what's the point in Kevin Scott's, Kira story, I think
Charles Soules.
Charles Soule, sorry. I think that unfortunately a lot of people don't give credit to these comics. Like, yes, they can Soule, Kevin Scott, like so many of these authors can pour their hearts out into these comics, and people will not treat them as well as they do the novels or as well as they do these shows or movies, unfortunately.
And
I think
while
that's the truth of it.
I yes, 110% the truth. However, I uh, overall it's a story group decision, and I know at most points, um, the story group, whether it's like Favreau and everything, like the shows and movies are all the time going into the books and saying, okay, we need to hold off on this. Why do you think we're just now getting a Luke and Lando book set before the sequel trilogy? It's because people wanted to be able to have that and not have um, a story for Luke and Lando decided on before it was decided on screen. So while I agree with you in that people don't take books and comics and what Nathan's saying as hard as the movies and shows, I do think, despite my opinions of the publications and like story choices that the story group's making, I do think the story group would go, yeah, we can't go forward with this comic right now because we're about to explore this on screen. Maybe after that point.
I I can understand that. I can understand that. I just really hope that they do touch a lot of what is going on in Crimson Reign, the history that uh, Kira now has with Boba Fett, with bounty hunters, with Vader. She is becoming a force to be reckoned with in the comics, and I do hope that they do portray that in this solo series for sure. But with that, let's go ahead.
Well, I did forget one thing about the High Republic
Oh yeah,
that I kind of wanted to bring up. So we know, or we don't know, it is rumored that there is going to be a High Republic movie and then a potential High Republic animated series.
yes,
With the High Republic series, and I know I sent you a tweet about this, but with the High Republic taking a break from current timeline, which is 200 years before the Phantom Menace. So this is already 200 years before the Phantom Menace. with them taking a break and going back to, what is that math? 450 years before the Phantom Menace. Do you think that those rumors of the High Republic movie and or High Republic animated series are coming to light because they're asking the authors to take a break so that people aren't confused with current timeline books happening concurrently with a TV show and or movie?
I can believe it. And the main reason why I can believe it is the same reason we have been screaming this forever, is just because we want this to happen. We want them to veer away from what we all know as the Skywalker saga. We want them to veer away from that timeline
Yep.
and going further into the past to answer probably a lot of the questions that even general audience fans would like to have answered, when it comes to the lore of the universe of Star Wars. Can be really fun. And it does make sense. You know, you give them that break, you give them that huge chunk of time and just be like, "Hey, we're going to deal with this and y'all go play in the sandbox." You know? I think that works perfectly.
Yeah, because it will be at least, I'm going to say probably at least 3 years before we get back to this timeline in books, with how phase one currently timed out and with the authors that they're adding to the High Republic. Nathan. So, with the amount of authors that they're adding, I really think phase two is probably going to go 2 years. And so with the pauses and everything, I still think we're going to be 3 years um, between getting where our current characters are. So, yeah, I think that's a perfect amount of time for a movie. Maybe not necessarily an animated TV show, but they could pull another Resistance and only go 2 seasons. So
I still think, and I know you're going to agree with me because they are some of our favorite characters. You give Vern and her Padawan and all of the mid grade characters,
yeah.
mid grade as far as the level of novelization, not the level of characters. People, don't twist my words. They are not mid, they are perfection. I love them.
Yes.
Give them an animated series. I'm all for it.
Star Wars Adventures characters and the middle grade characters. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
completely agree.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
let's go ahead and jump into one of our ad breaks, and then we will start reviewing episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett. It just says chapter 2. Is it named something specific?
It is the tribes of Tatooine.
Ah, okay. The Tribes of Tatooine. So we will be right back. And we are back. So, high level. Well, first, because I forgot to do this on our first review of chapter 1, I want to go ahead and give a shout out to John. He did respond to us. You know, we did ask, hey, let us know what your thoughts are. We'll give it a shout out. John, he really liked the first episode. Obviously, it was a lot of setup, but I cannot pronounce the last name of the main character, of Boba Fett, the actor.
Tamira Morrison.
It's first name. Okay. Tamira Morrison got to remind us how bad ass Boba is. I like spending time with the Tusken Raiders too. Solid start to the series, in my opinion. I would like to know what he thinks of episode 2 because we spent a lot of time with the Tusken Raiders. So,
Yeah,
Katie,
I forgot to ask.
for you, I know that you sang high praises for this episode, but let our listeners know, just high level thoughts. What do you think about this?
Right. So I did get up this morning at 3 a.m. to watch this episode so I could write a review for Full Circle Cinema, which I did write. And I loved it. I thought it was perfectly done. Steph Green is a phenomenal director. I remember now her episode of what is the DC HBO Max show with the not traditional the
Doom Patrol.
no, it's not Doom Patrol, it's not Titans, it's not Stargirl, it's not Young Justice, it's
Watchmen.
Watchmen. Yeah,
Watchmen.
she directed an episode of Watchmen, and it was one of my favorite episodes of Watchmen. So I'm really down. Like, where is her Star Wars series? Like, I loved it. Um, Ludwig Göransson, musician for composer. I'm sorry, that was incorrect. Composer for the Mandalorian show and for Book of Boba Fett. Like, man, the man deserves medals. Like, Star Wars, you need to be locking down his contract and going, okay, we want you to do composing for the next 10 Star Wars TV shows and whatever movies you want. We want you down for at least 3 movies, though. Like, lock the man down because he's phenomenal. Like, The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett would be nothing without his soundtrack that's behind it. Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so those are like my high level praises. Tamura Morrison looks like he's having the time of his life on screen in this episode. And this is Jon Favreau's best script for Star Wars since Snell was being nitpicky about it. This is his best script for Star Wars. So
You were like, "Oh yeah, this is the best thing he's ever done." Wait, are you talking about just Star Wars? Oh man, that was great.
we were talking about Star Wars, and Snell's like, no, it's not. And I'm like, I'm talking about Star Wars. Marvel's had its time. Plus, his Marvel stuff is not even the best stuff he's done. If you haven't seen the movie Chef, like, go watch Chef because that is legitimately the best thing he's ever done.
Chef is the one with what's her name? Is it Catherine Zeta-Jones is in that movie? No.
No, it's God damn.
Who's in that
IMDb.
movie?
It is
I
okay.
can't-
Scarlett Johansson, and then you've also got Sofia Vergara.
Scarlett Johansson's in that movie? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, anyway, my high level thoughts about this episode, I absolutely loved it. For me, whenever there is some sort of like train heist of any kind, you put a train, you put a mission to it, I love it. I don't know why. It's just this really stupid thing that I have been attached to. And it may be me as a like stupid kid who didn't really know what cinema was, but like when I was so little, I remember watching, it's a horrible movie now, like there's some kicks to it and everything else, I can have fun with the movie, but it's not a perfect movie by any means or even a good movie at that point. Wild Wild West with Will Smith, they
I
had
haven't seen it.
oh, I may have to force you with a slice of film with that one.
I'll write it down. I still have my sticky notes.
But there was like a train heist thing with that as well, and I loved that movie as a kid, and I think ever since then I've just been attached to that kind of scenarios. So I love this. I love the fact that Boba trained these Tusken Raiders to ride the speeders, and was the training montage a little too long? Maybe a little bit,
Oh, but I loved it.
but it was still good. It was still fun. I do like that Boba basically like re-evolutionized the Tusken Raiders to be a better society on Tatooine. Like that is what I really appreciate because again, you know, for all the people that are complaining, oh, the Tusken Raiders are nothing like what they were in the Mandalorian, it's because Boba had to get them there, you know? So I do appreciate that. The Pikes without their masks. I was talking to Joe, co-host of Ranger Alliance and A Walk Through the Multiverse. I was like, oh, this was like the first time I've seen Pikes in live action. And then he reminded, no, dummy, they were in Solo. So thank you, Joe, for reminding me of that. And I was just because again, I everybody knows that I'm doing this reading challenge. I just recently read Crimson Rain, and the Pikes were in there, and so I'm
Is that
thinking about
not
them.
badass though? That's so badass. It was a great comic.
It was a great comic. I am really looking forward to Amelia Clark showing up in the Book of Boba Fett. That's what I'm hyped about. I know she's gonna be super old, but I know she's gonna be in there. I know it. I feel it. But I I was like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if the Pikes show up in live action somewhere? And then I saw them here, and I was like, holy shit! It's like they were reading my mind. But it's already been in live action, so whatever. But overall, it wasn't a bad episode. I was really surprised. The very first thing I did was me being the pessimist that I am. I watched this at 5 a.m. I woke up at 5, um, and I watched this. And the immediate first thing I did after pressing play, I moved my cursor because I watched it on my computer. I moved my cursor to the middle of the video to see how long this episode was going to be. And
54 minutes.
when I saw 50 minutes on the it was 50 minutes on the little thing. It ended up being a total of, I believe, I actually have it playing still. Technically it's 53 minutes with a total of 48 minutes of actual show. I was like,
I was
this is
so
great.
sad.
This is great. This is what it needs to be. The weak sauce of like 20 something minutes last week, like I was a little disappointed by that. But seeing 50 minutes the very first like time I opened this thing and watched it, I was like, great. I'm in for something. Something's going to happen in this episode. And people may argue whether a lot of things happened or they didn't. Whatever. I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy this. Now, I don't necessarily want to go like a step for step thing here as far as this review. You were talking about 3 cameos. I saw 1.
So
So,
okay, your one was the Wookiee, right?
yes. So the Wookiee is, of course, his name is Black Chrysanthemum. He is from, I know him from a lot of covers from Dr. Aphra. That is where I know it. I
Yes.
have never read Dr. Aphra, but I have seen him on multiple covers. So when I saw him in all of his glory walking up to Boba Fett, I was like, oh shit. What is going on? He looks so fucking scary.
He does. And so I had no idea who he was. Disclaimer, y'all, I have the Dr. Afro omnibus where he's in it. But I hadn't read it yet. So now that is like moved up in my priority list to get read. Because clearly he's going to be here and coming in to it. So in my written review, I called him a black gladiator because or no, not a black gladiator, excuse me, a Wookiee gladiator. Um, and from what I've read so far in Dr. Aphra today, that was not wrong. That was not wrong. He's just now a Wookiee bounty hunter. Black. How did you pronounce his name?
So it's spelled Krrsantan. So Chrysanthemum.
Chrysanthemum. Okay. So very excited to see where that goes. The huts were a cool addition, I think, to the episode. However, I'm also like, are you kidding me? Like they're just now coming to claim Jabba's palace, Jabba's daimyo, um, because it's been 5 fucking years. So where have you been, huts? So that was kind of what I said to the huts. And I know a lot of people kind of called that out today where it's like, why are the twins just now getting here? So that was my reaction to the huts. The other thing that I have an issue with, and this is just all of Star Wars in general, if a character is talking on screen, then I desperately want that to be translated. It does not have to be all the background noise in a bar, but if a character is going to stick around for multiple episodes, then I want their stuff translated. Currently, we only got the brother of the twins translated. The sister, she just looks kind of snarky.
Well, it was she put her fan up over her mouth and she was whispering to him. So we were not supposed to know what she said.
I know, but like it with how you're characterizing these huts, I'm like, I want to know what she said for characterization purposes, because I think it's cool things into the void. Like it's happened with a bunch of other stuff. So this is not a Book of Boba Fett problem. This is a I'd like this to change. But the other cameos that we were talking about. So in A New Hope, Luke talks about going to Tashi Station. And that was where the bar that Boba went in and like beat up all those orange aliens. Y'all, I can't remember for the life of me the name of the alien species those are, so I'm sorry. But there is actually a scene in A New Hope that was deleted that has his best friends, Fixer and Cammy. And that was Fixer and Cammy in the bar.
Wait, what?
So Fixer and Cammy are two of Luke Skywalker's best friends on Tatooine. And he leaves them to go save the universe with Biggs Dark Lighter and everything. So in that bar, Cammy and Fixer are the two humans. That is not the bartender. They were the ones sitting there.
Oh, okay.
So they have never been seen on screen before unless you've looked at the A New Hope deleted scenes. So apparently
It's
the
same
deleted
actors
scenes,
and everything?
no. It says they're now played by Skylar Bible and Mandy Kowalski. With A New Hope being 77, they probably couldn't be the same actors because it's 5 years later. So, but yeah, that was the other cameo, and you could only catch that really if you've seen the deleted scene or you were geek enough, like a lot of the people I follow on social media, to stay for the credits and then figure out, oh hey, Fixer and Cammy, those are two of Luke Skywalker's friends. So
Interesting.
I just talked for way too long there.
Well, I mean, that is cool. I had no idea there was even a lot of delete. Like, honestly, I've never even attempted to go back to see if there's deleted scenes on any of the old Star Wars movies.
I haven't either. So
The more you know. So, before we get into the, since we're staying kind of in the modern time, we started off with kind of where we left off with the idea of Finnick capturing one of the assassins, them tricking him. I really did like this. This was situational humor that I really did enjoy. They basically
I loved the first 8 minutes.
they called a bluff and said, "Hey, I'm gonna feed you to my Rancor." And as soon as he saw that doorway opening, he's like, "The mayor sent me. The mayor sent me." And like there was literally nothing there, and I'm just like, that is awesome. I absolutely love that. We get to see the mayor as well. I don't
Which
know
is
if
the Athorian.
I don't know if
The Athorian we
that-
saw in the trailer.
Okay. I don't know if that is some sort of cameo either. Like, I feel like I was already supposed to know who this is, and I just didn't.
So I've never heard of him, and I think when I googled him this morning, he currently did not have a Wikipedia profile. I can
Okay.
Google him really fast.
No, but he seems to be a little bit of a hard ass, badass, whatever you want to call him himself. He was kind of calling Boba's bluffs as well. He was like, "Hey, I run this city. You're just a part of it, and you need to do it as I say." Basically, I'm very interested in a lot of this modern time stuff, and I do think I believe it was Chris Balga in our GOA chat that talked to us about possibly like, hey, do you think this is going to have the somewhat of the same formula as the Mandalorian and I believe the Marvel shows are like the halfway point is where it's really going to start kicking off. I think the closer we get to the finale, I think the halfway point or maybe even an episode after, we're probably staying in the modern time. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think the flashback to, I'm gonna steal that from Nathan, um, is mainly just to um allow us to get in the to get the Tusken Raiders to help Jabba, because I think basically what it's going to come down to, it did I say Jabba? I meant Boba. Um, to get Boba and the twins, we're going to see a face off, and the Tusken Raiders are going to need to help to protect Tatooine. And yeah, so that's, I think that's what's going to happen. Um, I really hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't fall in the Marvel trap of giving us a different bad guy than we're expecting in the last two episodes, where we figure out, oh, it was actually a different villain all along. Like,
So
I hate that shit.
who do you think is the villain though? That's the question.
I really hope it's just the Huts, and we're just going to end up seeing things. In regards to who the Huts are, um, I did go back and like I spent probably, y'all, I kid you not, I probably spent like 15 minutes Googling Huts to try and figure out the names of these Huts. And then I came down here because I was upstairs watching the episode while I was writing the review. I came down here to get my War of the Bounty Hunters comic to see if the Huts were in this War of the Bounty Hunters comic to try and get their names, because it was bugging me just calling them the twins. So, um, I really hope it's just the Huts. Like, I want them to keep with the simple storyline and give us the deep characterization that we got this episode, because I think that's what it needs to be. I do hope that we get more Finnick Shand in the next couple episodes, because she's been very much the lackey, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Ming Na Wen loves her role in Star Wars and wants to do more. So
I think
yeah.
she's going to portray Boba. I still think that.
You think that? Apparently, S Bubs agrees with
Well,
you.
I mean, I said that in our first episode review, because she did technically, she defied Boba. She said, because Boba was like, "Hey, Finnick, alive," and there was two of them, and she killed one of them. They aren't both alive; only one is alive. And yes, I know technically you only need one for information. So on a technicality, she did and did not, go against his
I,
wishes.
I think Finnick Shand is a woman of honor and is living by a life debt. Boba Fett saved her life. We'll probably get a flashback to that point, I would say, to where we see like how Boba helped her survive with the robotic insides. Um, I'm calling my shot. Um, but I still think Finnick is living off that life debt and is trying to make it right. Like Chewbacca, for instance, has saved Han Solo's life dozens of times. And you could say that he's fulfilled the life debt. He is still with Han Solo and continues to save his life. So I'm living by that principle.
Okay, okay. We shall see. But
Yes.
for the most part, in the flashbackta, as Nathan called it, I think that's official. I think that's what we're gonna have to call them,
Yep.
flashbacktas, because they only happen when he's in the bacta tank.
Yep.
It is basically him learning more about how the Tusken Raiders live, how they train, how they survive, really. And then, of course, they get attacked by this other clan. I have no idea who these people are. I said in our episode 1 review that the symbol that they spray painted onto the civilian's house looks familiar, but I cannot name it for the life of me. It was like that JL looking thing, or it was just an arrow. I don't know exactly what it was, but
I don't remember.
it looked familiar. Now, I will say, uh, the one thing that I was just like, what the hell about was possibly just the ending of this episode. Um, the gecko, and why did it have to go up his nose?
I was I was so glad Morrison just sticks his hand up and like blocks it, because you see it go up and then you're like, oh my gosh. And then Morrison just goes like this. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Because that was like,
It
what?
it was wicked, and then he started to have hallucinations. Of course, this is all part of the Tusken Raiders' plans. Of course, this is some sort of vision quest. We got to see more flashbacks to his childhood, to see Jango Fett. We see this weird life tree thing that grasps him. He has like mild PTSD of being inside the Snarlack pit and all sorts of stuff. And he comes back with this random branch, and that becomes his weapon of choice. They do.
It is called a Gadurfi.
I'll go what?
A Gadurfi, and it is a traditional stick weapon that has a bludgeoning bludgeoning object on one side and a stabbing utensil on the other. And it's used across currently the Ewoks of the moon of Endor and the Tusken Raiders. So that is how the Tusken Raiders fashion their stick. Their Gadurfi is they have their vision quest, the rite of passage, and they go and they break off a branch, and then they come back and they are fully initiated into the tribe. Boba gets his black robe that we see him wear in The Mandalorian, and then we get a really cool scene, I think, where he's fashioning the Gadurfi with the Tusken warrior that he trained with the whole episode, as well as I guess like a weaponsmith.
Yeah. I will admit, as soon as they were like wrapping him up in that black robe and stuff, as soon as they put the hood over him, all I could hear was, and now you'll be known as Darth Vader. Like, I don't know why. I immediately thought of that, and it just felt so cool. Like, he does look, I will admit, he looks better with clothing on.
Yes.
He looks so silly with just like this random tan jumpsuit, like throughout the entire 2 episodes.
And that's what he was wearing under his suit of armor in Return of the Jedi. So it makes sense continuity wise. But like when he comes out of the tent in his black robes, and the chieftain is sitting there and the warrior standing there, and he comes out and he goes, woo, and it's like, look at me. Sorry, I had to like do that because I watched the episode twice, and each time I was like, oh my gosh, he just wants to look pretty.
S-Bub says the gecko took him to the ancestral plane. It essentially did, because when he comes back, the chief of the Tusken Raiders just pulls up his little thing. The gecko comes out randomly, and he's like, "Oh God, I thought that was part of the vision," and like it just like gives him PTSD all over again.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, that is essentially the entire episode. We then at the very end, I think it's just like they do this like, I guess, ritual dance, and it's basically like, hey, you were one of us type things. But I dug it. I think this was a great episode. I think it does a lot to help you realize like where it came from. Like, because everybody headcanons the fact that, oh, Boba Fett's a badass, right? Now,
right.
If you hadn't read the Legends books or anything else, you're just like, oh, Boba Fett's a badass because he's a bounty hunter, and all bounty hunters are badasses. And so you kind of just put that up in the air for that character. But when he showed up in the Mandalorian, he like literally just started like destroying everybody with this stick. And you're like, what the hell? Like, how did he learn all this stuff? And like getting that now, I feel like okay, we're learning more about him. Which is what I wanted, you know?
Yeah.
So
And
I think it
I
works out
would
pretty well.
I think it does too. I think some of my only qualms with the episode, I wish that the Tusken Raiders were getting more credit in like the main credits role versus like the afterthought credits at the end that don't have like the art, because I mean the Tuskens were on screen for the majority of the episode,
Yeah.
and so they're part of the main cast to me, and so it kind of sucks because they're behind. You're not hearing their voice because they speak with sign language, and then you're not seeing their faces, so you don't think to care about them. But I'm like, they're doing so well. Like the chieftain is just saying so much with body language, and so it's killing me. And then the other thing, so off the top of your head, how many speeders were there in the attack on the train?
Oh shoot. The Attack of the Train. One, two, three, four. I'm gonna say six.
So there was 5.
Okay, okay. I was questioning the last one, but I couldn't remember if it was like a fifth tail or if it was the one where the warrior just slammed through the front engine to like help out with the sniper. But he only brought because I'm
He
on that
only
part
brings 4.
four. He
He
only
only
brings
brings 4.
he only brings four. I'm on that part right now on my other screen. That is hilarious.
Matt pointed it out. And so I start writing my review, and he's like, I'm going to rewind and go back to the bar scene to see how many speeders he has. And he points it out, and I'm like, that's going to bug the ever loving shit out of me.
So okay,
Because
so how many are there at the bar versus how many does he take? Is
4.
is it four both times?
So he has 4 at the bar, and then, or okay, so you see 4 at the bar. And
Okay.
then he takes 4. So he's trailing with 3, and then he's riding 1. But then there's 5 speeders that take off to go attack the train.
That is funny.
So that kind of stuff bugs me because it's a very simple fix. You go, okay, how many speeders did we have in this scene? Okay, let's do that. Or if you shoot the train scene first, then go, okay, here's our 5 speeders. Heck, maybe one of them actually blew up. And so you're like, oh, okay, we're going backwards in time. We only have 4 speeders now, so oh well. But I was like, really?
Oh yeah, I fast forwarded real quick. There is five. That is hilarious. Hey, maybe you can just headcanon the fact that like he goes back for another one. You know, they trust him
That's
now.
because you don't know when the train came in, and this is after Return of the Jedi. So, and Matt just texted me. He heard me talking, and he says all of the practice scenes had them on 4-2. So,
Oh really?
Yeah. SBub says continuity ruined. 0 out of 10.
Damn
See,
it, Star
y'all,
Wars.
I'm nitpicky, okay? Like I do this in my movie reviews, and but I do this with Star Wars. So it's not like I'm counting Star Wars out. Like
Well, I mean, it's this. I don't think this is as great as shirt and pants guy in season 2 of The Mandalorian, but like it's still good. You know, it's just that
yeah,
one little thing that you can be like, oh yeah, you know, they messed up on this. So I think it works out.
it does.
But I think that's it overall. We pretty much hit everything. Um, do you have any expectations for episode 3?
So I imagine we're gonna get Hutt and Boba Fett confrontation. I don't imagine Hutts are not very patient people, as learned in War of Bounty Hunters. So uh, that's gonna come to a head, and the Hutts aren't gonna be happy that Boba Fett is taking control of Tatooine when that's supposed to be their property. Um, and the twins, for reference, are cousins of Jabba. So they're not direct siblings. So they're cousins.
Question.
Yes.
Finnick told Boba, you have to ask for permission to kill a Hutt. What the hell does that mean?
So basically they would have to go to the Council of Hutts, and that's not the proper term for it. But basically there's a ruling family of Hutts, and you have to go, hey, this guy's really pissed me off, and this is why. Can I kill him, please? That was the exact thing that happened with Zero the Hutt, or something very similar with Zero. When Zero died, there was a call with the ruling family, and they were like, yeah, get rid of him.
Huh. I did not know that. I feel like I should have known that. Why did I not know
And
that?
maybe I'm making that up. I feel very confident about it, though, so I'm going to stick with the confident part.
Well, no, it's just like for me, I take the headcanon of everybody else and be like, Boba Fett's a badass because Boba Fett, you know? And Boba Fett don't need to ask for permission for nothing. So if he's gonna kill somebody, he's gonna kill somebody. So that's gonna
But
be interesting.
if you're trying to be a daimyo and like rule with respect, then you kind of need to play by everybody else's rules. He wants to be a ruler here, no longer a bounty hunter. So.
True. But I do think, because there is still, I asked this question with Joe and I completely forgot. But how many episodes is this total?
7.
7 episodes. So we still have 5 episodes left.
Yep.
So we still have a lot of content left. Now, there was rumors that this is going to go Arrow style, in the sense of Boba Fett was going to have some sort of list. He's going to have, an idea of exacting revenge on people. This is the small stories that were coming out, like, I want to say like 3 or 4 months ago. I wasn't really paying attention to it because of the Arrow reference. But I think that, like, if this is true, then maybe they can bring in a lot of those cameos of what we would see from, like, the Bounty Hunter comic. That's where we see Emilia Clarke's character, Like, I think that is how you can interpret a lot of that.
Well, and there was a rumor going around, and it was from The Sun, I think, in UK, where it was Harrison Ford is going to make a cameo in Book of Boba Fett. And yeah, did you not see this?
No. Now I saw a lot of wishes saying that, like, Han and Boba have a lot of history, so there should be some sort of cameo or name drop in this series. But, like, dude, Ford is done with this. Like, he is so done. Like, I don't know how much money you would have to throw.
There's no Carrie Fisher to bring him back into this. Like, there's no reason Leia should be a part of this. So Harrison Ford's not going to be like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm doing this for Carrie. Like, no.
Like, and let me tell you, I understand that you had, your CG face swap with freaking Mark Hamill for Luke. I'm sorry, not enough of that can help Harrison Ford. Like, I'm gonna come like I'm sorry, like, I don't want to, like, harp on anybody here that, like, loves
Harrison
old
Ford
man
used
Harrison.
to be so sexy, but yeah, he's old now. Like,
he's like, I'm sorry.
And you've already recast him as Alden Ehrenreich. So to me, if you're gonna have Han Solo come in, then you have Alden Ehrenreich. Did Disney piss off Alden too much to come back? That is the bigger question, I would think. So you could see a big list. You said that there was an S-Bubs cameo. S-Bubs, if you're still in the chat, which I see there's 0 viewers. S-Bubs, I don't want to know who the big cameo is. But we know there's a big cameo coming because of one of the promo images that clearly has like somebody photoshopped out of said promo image. Which again, I don't know why you make that the promo image. Um, but so we know there's people coming. A lot of people have voiced their hope that Omega comes in, and that Boba finally gets to meet Omega. That could be a cool addition to have.
I think there has to be a lot of setup for the Omega stuff to make sense. You know,
Does there really though?
yes, I mean, let's
Because
be honest,
you
no, but like, I am not 100. Well, yes, I am. I am almost 100% sure that all of Star Wars fans watch everything Star Wars. But there's gonna be casual fans that have watched The Mandalorian and know about Boba Fett because of The Mandalorian, but not necessarily watch The Bad Batch. So when Omega comes around, they're like, "Who the fuck is this?" You know,
they said the
and
exact same thing about Ahsoka. And Ahsoka Tano Googles were up in like the millions that week that she was in the Mandalorian episode.
that's true. That is true. So I guess anybody can show up, honestly. If that's the route we're going. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. I'm going to go ahead and put it out there into the ethos. We're going to get Kira, uh Han's younger self. What's his name?
Alden Eyrick.
Eirik, and then freaking Lando.
I don't know if you
Gambino.
get Donald Glover.
I think that I think either any one of the trio, because there's still rumors of his solo series, which I don't even was it
We haven't
supposed
heard
to
anything
be?
else about it.
We haven't heard anything about that. So who knows? I think it's one of
And we
the.
didn't get anything on Disney Plus Day, so
Yeah, I'm still salty about that. Still
clearly I
salty.
am too.
So I'm gonna say any one of those three. So we
I'm
shall
gonna
see.
say I'm gonna say Bosk. I think you could also potentially see Valence, who's in the World Bounty Hunters comic. And I think he's in Bounty Hunters too. I don't know. Don't y'all, I'm working on my comic collection, okay? Um and I do think you see Kira with the Huts. I think it's even more probable that they can just create a big tie-in. Heck, maybe Boba goes to court to with a bunch of crime syndicates because we got the Pikes, we got the Huts. Why not go ahead and add in Crimson Dawn? So, um, yeah, I
I think that
we'll see
we
what happens.
also get what's his name, who had a showdown with Finnick in the Cad Bane, possibly, because there's a lot of people talking Cad Bane might be showing up in here too.
Yeah, Cad Bane was getting old in the Clone Wars, so
Oh, that's true.
maybe.
I mean, he. The only reason. Oh well, she was younger. She wasn't the same age because he had a. Like I said, he had a run in with Finnick in the Bad Batch. So
Well, that's a good. That's one thing that Book of Boba Fett has really killed with this is a lot of older actors in Star Wars have been left by the wayside or been told to lose weight, and like I think the top 5 main cast in this one, the youngest actor is currently 40 or in their 40s, and then everybody else is in their 50s. So everybody looks glorious. They all look stunning. Um, but I like this pattern.
Robo Cad Bane is what SBub says. Give him cybernetics. He'll just live to be. You know, he'll live forever. But I think that is it for the review. That is it for the show. Of course, you can always find me at Fanboy Clay on Twitter. Go to Linktree. You can find all of these shows that I have been a host of, that including DC Alliance, Batman News Weekly, Comic Book Legion podcast, Weird Science Marvel podcast, Ranger Alliance, as well as Star Wars Alliance. Now, I will go ahead and say I am doing a comics reading challenge on Twitter right now. A lot of people have joined in. If you would like to join, I will say I've already announced it on DCA. I am personally doing a contest for that. If you exceed at least 500 comics, you will be entered to win. And I was thinking about this. I was like, okay, I have to give a heads up to I want to go ahead because of how great they are and everything else. I want to go ahead and reach out to Organic Price Books, and I want to throw in another gift card. So, anybody could win. So anybody, United States, international. For this is my contest, not Star Wars Alliance, not DCA. This is just my contest that I'm doing. It motivates us to read. Reading is great. It's healthy for the brain. It helps me get rid of my to read pile because it's freaking large. And yeah, so I will for sure have a green light on that gift card for Organic Price Books, possibly by this weekend. But I have a specific number in my head, and I think I can make it work. But just got to go talk to them to see if their gift cards can go up. I don't know if Organic Price Books has a limit on their gift card. So we shall see. And also, again, Organic Price Books, they have amazing collections. Go pre-order some stuff for Star Wars, Marvel, DC, whatever. But remember to review the solo feed of Star Wars Alliance for our contest. Katie, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. You can also follow me on Instagram there. I'm going to be trying to do a lot more on Instagram with book reviews and stuff. Because while I am not trying to read, well, I am trying to read a bunch of comics, but I'm also trying to get rid of my personal book read collection, which includes getting through my Legends collection, as well as some other books that I'm trying to read. So I'm trying to read 5 books a month, and that doesn't include new canon releases or comics. So
good luck. See, I was smart. I put pictures in my reading challenge, not just words.
I don't mind. I like reading, and I've missed getting into my Legends books. So I am trying to read stuff other than Star Wars. So if you have a book recommendation for me, let me know on Twitter. But yeah, you can check out my review of the Book of Boba Fett, episode 2, The Tribes of Tatooine on FullCircleCinema.com. I appreciate all those views because I get paid for those. So, yeah. So, Star Wars Alliance, you can find on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the wars. Very important. Don't forget it. I have missed you guys. Thanks for putting up with my coughing, however much Clay managed to edit out of this. And I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time day you're listening or watching. And we'll see y'all next time. May the Force be with you.
See you later.